If you've ever struggled to receive, this episode is for you. 2 weeks ago, I was in a cafe in Midtown, New York, and I realized that I had forgotten my wallet. So while I was looking for my wallet and trying to make my digital wallet work, this guy behind me suddenly decided to pay for my coffee and and then all he said to me was happy Tuesday and enjoy your coffee, and he left. Initially, I did doubt his intentions, but then afterwards I was like, okay, he genuinely is just a really nice man who saw that I was very chaotic in that moment and he decided to pay for me, which I thought was the sweetest thing ever. So, in this week's newsletter, I wrote about how I've shifted my own mindset from not really knowing how to receive to learning to receive without making that mean anything about my personal worth. What I think is important about this incident, though, is how my own attitude has changed because the me 2 years ago would never have just said thank you and let him go. I would probably have chased after him and insisted on paying him back. And I guess also because I'm Asian, that that's also about being polite and wanting to return all the favors. If you're Asian, you'll know what I'm talking about. But going back to my coffee, it was really eye opening for me to realize how much I have learned to receive with grace. And why I think receiving is important is because it's related to so many things in life. When we connect our self worth with receiving, and when we connect performance with the ability to receive, to be treated well, then that forms an unhealthy relationship with our sense of self worth. And that happens in relationships, it happens in friendships. For instance, I have some friends that are genuinely very nice people. But then what I've noticed in them is that they love doing things for people and they rarely let people do things for them and they rarely ask for help or for favors. And even if they do, they will immediately want to return them back. I feel like they have sort of connected their sense of worthiness with showing up for other people and doing things for other people. And although I know that there are some people who genuinely want to do that because their love language is acts of service, I think it's also important to understand that we are worth something innately without having to earn it. I think that is the main distinction. So let's talk about signs that you struggle to receive. I've gone on for a while without introducing myself. Hi, I'm Claudia, and this is our Core Things podcast. On this podcast, I talk about self trust, self discovery, and the journey of coming back to ourselves. You can find me here on YouTube, on Spotify, as well as on Substack, where I have a newsletter also called Our Core Things. So, here are 3 signs that you sometimes may struggle to receive. And also, there is no shame in any of this because I think a lot of people will go on this journey, especially women, because we are naturally givers, and a lot of us healers as well. We find giving to be an act of love, and I still am like that. But I think it's also equally important to learn how to receive with grace as well, because that relates to many things. It also teaches us that sometimes the things we want, whether it's relationships or financial abundance, or for instance, what I'm going through right now is finding a flat in New York. We don't always have to push so hard to find it. Sometimes we can also let things come to us. So that's why it's sort of like important to learn how to receive. So let's move on to 3 signs that you might struggle to receive. First of all, a lot of coaches, including a lot of like wealth and money mindset coaches talk about this. And it's that compliments make you uncomfortable. When you think about how you react when a person compliments you, you'll sort of have an idea with how comfortable you are with receiving. If you like deflect a compliment, if somebody compliments you and then you say, no, 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 like you look better or your dress is nicer or whatever, like you start complimenting them immediately, then it sort of shows that you are not very comfortable or you don't feel at ease receiving a compliment fully, like just letting it land and saying thank you and just fully inhaling it, right? I was definitely like that. Whenever people would compliment me, maybe something I was wearing or my work ethic, I would just say, no, you do this better, or I'll compliment them in another way. And that's a form of deflecting compliments. Obviously, once I realized how receiving is so connected to the ability to receiving other things, including financial abundance, and also how receiving is related to being in our feminine energy, I started to really observe these situations where I was deflecting compliments and learn to take the compliments and receive them properly. Then the second sign is wanting to restore balance immediately. So it's very connected to the first one. For example, if somebody treats you to a coffee, then you'll say something like, no, I feel bad. Let me get the cake, or let me get a snack, or let me pay back. It's important to get my message clear here because I'm not saying that reciprocity is not important because I think reciprocity is very important. And I think it's natural, right? Like it's social politeness to buy somebody coffee next time if they bought you coffee this time. The important distinction here is noticing when and why you're wanting to return the favor, because some people do it with the mindset of I am not worth anything or I am not worth gifts unless I earn it first. The important part is the part about earning. Thinking that you always have to earn everything first, and if you don't earn it then you can never have it. I think that that's the part where it can get unhealthy when you're also applying this to, especially to relationships. When you apply it in career, it makes more sense because we do need to show up in order to earn, financial repayment of whatever we're doing. But then when it comes to relationships, whether it's both platonic or romantic, when we always think that we need to show up first, when we need to give first in order to earn the other person's love, in order to earn the other person's attention, it sort of becomes an unhealthy dynamic. And a lot of people who think this way will eventually become a bit resentful because they'll always show up for the other person, but then the partner might not show up for them in the same way, and that causes a lot of resentment. It causes a lot of repressed emotions. If a good friend cooks a meal for you and you just feel bad, it's a good time to reflect on your own mindset because it's normal for a friend to want to cook a dinner for you, for example. And if you know that you would do that for the friend too, then why not receive it with grace? The third point is asking for help makes you feel unworthy. If asking for help makes you feel unworthy, that might look like if you had a bad day at work and you felt very upset and you want to call your friend about it, and then you hold back because you don't want to waste their time. That's a sign of not wanting to ask for help. Another sign is maybe if you are currently looking for a full time job and you know these people who may have connections in a company that you want to work for, but you feel bad asking them because it makes you look weak or you don't want to rely on other people. All of these things are signs of a sort of like warped relationship with receiving because you're making it mean something about you. Like if you reach out to ask for help, you feel weak, you feel unworthy, you feel unworthy of time and attention. I had that type of mindset before too. Even in conversations with my friends, I would constantly sum up my updates so they would have more airtime to speak. I think that's normal when maybe a friend has a bad day or like just broke up and you want to give them more airtime to speak, but then it shouldn't happen every single time. It shouldn't be a situation where every single time you summarize your own updates and let your friend talk for the majority of the conversation because you feel like your own matters are not as important or substantial. So I really had to look at that. I really had to observe situations where I was not wanting to take up more space in conversations, or when I wanted to ask for help and ask for a favor but was holding back. Every single time I did that, I would think to myself, if I actually reached out, what would it mean about me, right? If my answer is it makes me feel weak, it makes me feel unworthy, it means that my own self worth is not at a healthy enough level where I would feel okay asking for help. What I did to shift it is to actually do it more. For instance, ask my network to connect me with other people that I feel might help me with my career, or I will just talk more and talk slowly in conversations where usually I don't feel as okay taking up so much space. I would really feel how it feels in my body. And I think through showing up, through doing that, you will teach yourself that you are worth taking up space as well. And you're also worth other people doing things for you, because any type of relationship is not convenient. We need to show up for each other. And when you're able to ask for help without making that mean anything about you, your self worth would be at a much healthier level. And I think it's especially hard when it comes to money. Money, like the relationship with money, is something that I'm constantly working on. But I understand why there would be a lot of shame and guilt when it comes to asking for financial support from family or friends. In these moments, the most important thing you can do is understand objectively that, okay, this is a temporary situation, but that is not anything related to how worthy I am and who I am as a person. Because I think being able to do that, and it takes work, but it really does a lot for your own self-confidence and sense of self-worth. And from there, you'll notice that receiving becomes a lot easier. So there's a book that I've read last year and it has become one of my favorite books. It's called The Soul of Money by Lynn Twist. In the book, she talks about her experience with money because she's a philanthropist and she raises money for different occasions. I don't remember exactly what, but then she will talk about how when people are able to hold that money and people are able to use themselves as vessels for the money to move through, money also will move through you because money has a soul. There's always reciprocity, there's a give and take. Through that book, I also learned about the importance of like the give and take in human connection and in the universe as well. When we don't open our hands also to receive, and when we're constantly only giving, then we are actually affecting the sense of balance in that give and take relationship that the universe works around. Money and other and energy like flows in that way. So if we see us receiving also as part of this whole reciprocity of the universe, it also makes it less about us but more about just that flow, that current, and understanding that's how everything in nature works. That is, yeah, that's how I've learned to really be okay with receiving. For those of you who are spiritual, you know that receiving is more connected to the feminine. The feminine is, as an archetype, more connected with receiving, stillness, creativity, intuition, all of those things. So, if you're also wanting to move back into your feminine, and whether you are born as a male or female, if you're wanting to reconnect more with your feminine energy, learning to receive is also great for that. That has really helped me on the journey of connecting more with my feminine. Thank you so much for listening to this episode, and I wish that you're having a great weekend. I'll see you in the next one.